Till now we focused on understanding how the problems will be having on averages and based on mixes in that way, right? Let us look at a small example to understand how we'll be having the problems on alligation. First of all, what we understand from the term alligation basically. Okay, to understand that one, let us look at a small example in this way. Suppose a trader mixed two varieties of rice. Let us say one is costing some 40 rupees per kg, the other is costing, let us say, some 50 rupees per kg. Let us assume the trader mixed 50 kgs of this and 100 kgs of this together to get a resultant mixture, right? So if you are looking at what is the average price of these two mixes, if you are looking at average price, we know it's nothing but total price that he has incurred in purchasing them. So 40 rupees at the rate of that one 50 kgs if he has purchased, can we say 40 into 50, 2000 rupees he has spent on purchasing this. In the same way, if you are observing here, it's 50 rupees, is the price per kg. At the rate of that one 100 kgs he has purchased. So that means what we can say is the amount spent here will become 50 into 100, 5000 rupees, right? So if you are just looking at the total amount that he has spent on purchasing them is 7000 rupees, and the total quantity that he has purchased here is 50 plus 100, that is 150 we can say. So in other words, what we can say is 7000 is the numerator part and the denominator is 150, denominator is 150 we have. So if you are cancelling 10 and 10, we are basically left out with 70 will be going in 5 for 14 times means 140, and denominator will be going 15 means 3 times. So it's 140 by 3 is the average price that we are having, right? And here a small point, right? This further we can write it as 140 if you are looking at 345 is 135, and 36 times 1 if you are looking at 46 times if you are looking at 138 it will be. So it's nothing but 46 2 by 3 is the price per kg will be getting on mixing them, right? This is what is basically the average price we can say. Now how we can arrive at alligation rule based on this, to understand that, let us assume these are all in terms of some variables. Like first one, if you are considering, is having a price of some P1, and the second variety is having a price of P2, then this one as some Q1 and this one as second quantity as some Q2. Then what is the average price we can say, means it's basically P bar, I'll represent that one as, so it's P1 Q1 plus P2 Q2 by total quantity Q1 plus Q2 we can say, right? And if you are cross multiplying these two, we'll be having P bar into Q1 plus Q2 is equal to P1 Q1 plus P2 Q2, right? P2 Q2, and bringing all Q1 quantities to one side and Q2 quantities to one side, what we can say is bringing this to this side, it will become Q1 into P1 minus P bar, and bringing this Q2 quantities to this side, it will be Q2 taken common, it's P bar minus P2 will be having. Or if you are considering bringing Q2 to one side and Q1 quantity, Q1 and Q2 quantities to one side and prices to the other side, what we can say is Q1 by Q2 is equal to bringing this to this side and this to this side we are having. So what we can say is Q1 by Q2 will become P bar minus P2 by P1 minus P bar in that way. And if you are taking minus sign common here, what we can say is Q1 by Q2 is equal to P2 minus P bar by P bar minus P1 we can say. This is what is basically considered as alligation rule. Only thing that we'll be doing here is we'll replace 1 with cheaper and 2 with dearer. So quantity of cheaper by quantity of dearer. Dearer is basically the expensive one that we'll be considering. Yeah. And P2, two quantities are basically dearer ones or expensive ones, and one quantities are basically cheaper ones. So that means what we can say is it's 2 P2 will be having means dearer price minus P bar means cheaper price by cheaper price, this basically P bar is basically average price, sorry. So if you are looking at this is average price, we can say it's average price by, again P bar we have means average price by average price minus cheaper price will be having. This is what is known as alligation rule. And how this allegation rule will be useful to understand that, let us look at some more examples. But how we will be having that point here useful means, like if you are considering quantity of cheaper, the cheaper one here is 40 rupees one, the quantity of that one is 50 kgs, and in the same way quantity of expensive or the dearer one is basically we have 100 kgs. So the ratio of these two is 1:2. And if you are looking at the dearer price minus average price, dearer price is basically we are having it as 50 rupees, average price we are getting it as 140/3, right? By average price minus cheaper price, average price is basically 140/3 minus cheaper one is 40 we have. So if you are just looking at the difference between those two, 50 minus 140/3 by 140/3 minus cheaper one 40. So is this 150 minus 140 means 10/3. And here if you are looking at 140 minus 120/3 means again 20/3. By 3/3 if you are cancelling, the ratio is 10/20 means 1:2. So we will be having the ratio of these two always same as the ratio of the dearer price minus average price by average price minus cheaper price. So in that way this will be useful in arriving at the answer at a faster rate rather than going for the actual calculation. So let us look at some examples and understanding how this allegation rule will be useful. Yeah. Let us look at a small example on understanding how the problems on allegation rule will be having. Yeah. This is a problem based on actually profit and loss, but we can use allegation rule for answering this question. A trader mixes two varieties of rice, one costing at 15 rupees per kg and the other at 25 rupees per kg. So that by selling the mixture at 30 rupees per kg, he makes a profit of 25%. In what ratio he mixed them is the question. Yeah, if you are just looking at it, it is almost on the lines of the basic example that we have considered to understand what is allegation rule. Yeah, what are the prices that we have for the two varieties? 15 rupees per kg is the first one, and the price of the second variety is 25 rupees per kg we have it as, right? And we are looking at what is the ratio in which they have to be mixed. Okay, and here by selling the mixture at 30 rupees per kg, right, selling, he is saying these are actually prices in terms of costs we have, whereas the mixer price is mentioned in terms of selling a price item, costs we have. Yeah, selling this one at 30 rupees per kg, he is making a profit of 25% is the information. Yeah, and whenever we are using allegation rule, we have to keep a small point in mind that all the three items that we are considering should be in terms of the same quantity. Like if you are considering instead of here, yeah, if you are just looking at here the first two quantities, the prices of the quantities are mentioned in terms of cost prices, whereas the mixture is given in terms of selling price. But we need to convert this one also into cost price to answer the question. Not only here, anywhere in any example, we have to express all the three in same units we have. Like if you are considering two quantities of milk are mixed, then what we can say is, when we are mixing two quantities of milk, you may be having milk percentages mentioned, and based on that water percentages will be in a position to calculate. So now what we can say is express all the three in terms of the concentration of milk or in terms of concentration of water. In the same way for any other example also, keep this point in mind so that we can answer correctly. Yeah. So if you are just looking at selling price is mentioned as 30 rupees per kg and the profit is mentioned as 25%. So based on this, what we can say is, using for our profit and loss knowledge, we know what we can say is, it is selling price is nothing but is expressed in terms of cost price we have. Yeah, if we have selling a particular item, there is a profit of 25%, what we can say is selling price will become 125% of cost price. This is the point already we have studied in profit and loss. Yeah, what is the selling price we have? 30 rupees, and 125% means 125 by 100, that is nothing but 5 by 4 times of cost price we have. So 5 will be going 6 times, means what is the cost price we can say? 24 rupees per kg. Yeah. Now, in what ratio these two are mixed to get this price is the question. There are two approaches. One is based on assuming these are some A kgs is taken up and this is some B kgs is taken up. Based on that, we will be getting a ratio of A and B. Like if I consider A kgs of this one, the total cost will become 15 into A, 15A. And this is 25 kgs at the rate of 25 kgs, B kgs if you are considering 25B is the price there. Total quantity will become A plus B, right? A plus B. This is what is the average price according to us, but according to the problem the average price is mentioned as 24, right? So now going for further simplification, what we can say is cross multiplying 15A plus 25B is equal to 24A plus 24B. Yeah, or in other words what we can say is bringing B quantities to one side and A quantities to other side. 25B minus 24B, it will be single B will be having, is equal to 24A minus 15A means 9A will be having, or in other words what is A by B means, yeah, A by B means 1 by 9. So what is the ratio in which these two are mixed means 1:9 we can say. This is using the usual approach, right? Once we know the average price, we can use alligation rule, and just now we have seen alligation rule is quantity of cheaper by quantity of dearer is equal to dearer price minus average price by average price minus cheaper price. And here if you are observing, this is what is the cheaper one and this is what is the dearer one. If the quantity of cheaper is some x and quantity of dearer is some y, or A and B as what we did here, like A by B is the ratio that we are looking at, is equal to dearer price minus average price. Dearer price is 25, average price is 24. So 25 minus 24 by average price minus cheaper price. Cheaper price is 15, 24 minus 15. Or in other words what we can say is 25 minus 24, 1, 24 minus 15 means 1. So what is the ratio of A and B means 1:9. So instead of going for this simplification, is this not much easier? So this is one more approach that we can say for answering the question. And whenever we look at our problems on alligation rule, we don't have to use this as a complete formula. We can use even arrows also for representing the data. That makes the problem much easier. And if you just look at how that arrows approach we are having means, like whatever be the price that we have, I mean whatever be the first quantity we have, write that one as the first quantity, second one as the second quantity, and average as always the middle between those two. Like I am representing now, first one is mentioned as 15 rupees, second one is mentioned as 25 rupees, and the average price we are getting it as 24 rupees. So write that 24 in between these two as middle in this way. Okay, now take the difference between these two. 24 and 15, the difference is 9. 25 and 24, the difference, take the difference between these two. 25 and 24, the difference is 1. Now what we can say is the ratio in which these two are mixed is 1:9. 1 refers to the one that we have considered first here, 9 refers to the one that we have considered second here. So based on these things, we can answer the question easily. So every time you don't have to remember it as a formula, you can simply go for this approach where we will be always getting the ratio as the first part to the second part that we are considering. Whatever be the way that we are considering, the ratio will be in that way only will be getting, right? Let us look at one more example to understand how the problems on further problems on alligation rule. A 350 milliliter solution contains 10% of milk. How much water should be added to it in order to bring down the percentage of milk to 7% in the solution? Yeah, this is one more example on alligation, and the problem is like what it is saying is it already has some milk and we are adding water so that the milk concentration reduces to something lesser than what he has mentioned earlier. Okay, so if you are just looking at as mentioned earlier, whenever we have problems based on this type of mixing of the things is taken up, all the three should be in the same units. Like we can consider all three in terms of milk or all three in terms of water. Like what is the concentration of milk we have here means 10% is the point. Initial one is having 10%. To that what we are adding is water. Obviously water doesn't contain any milk, so that means what we can say is it contains 0% milk, right? And by adding these two we are looking at getting a milk concentration as 7%. So that is 7% we'll be writing in this way. So these two are the ones that we are mixing, and this is what is the result that we are getting result obtained by mixing these two. Now take the difference between these two as what we did earlier. Now the difference between 7 and 0 is 7, 10 and 7 is 3. So what we can say is this always represents the ratio in which the first quantity and second quantity have to be mixed up. So 7 parts is the one that we are considering first, and 3 parts is the one that we are considering second. Second is basically nothing but water that we are adding, and already this 7 parts is mentioned as in the problem a 350 ml solution contains. So 7 parts if it is mentioned as 350 ml, we are looking for how much water to be added. So water to be added is 3 parts. 3 parts will be how much is the question. So now what we can say, it's basically 3 into 350 by 7 we will be having. So what we can say, 7 will be going 50 times, means it is 150 ml of water we need to add to bring down that concentration of milk from 10 to 7. And if you are just looking at, this is the easiest way of answering the question. If you are just going back to the percentages calculations or the initial way that we started this mixers based questions, most of us will be considering, let us add some x milliliters of water so that the concentration of water, milk changes to 7%. That is definitely, like if you are looking at the equation, what we are having is 10% milk is there in 350 milliliters. Out of 350, 10% is 35 ml we can say. So 35 ml of milk is there, means what we can say is the remaining 315 ml is water. This is milk, this is water. So now what we can say is add some more water, means let it be some xml that we are adding. So what we can say is 315 plus x is the quantity of water now, and now what we can say is already it has 350 ml. Now we are adding x, means total quantity will become 350 plus x. Multiplying this with 100 will be getting concentration of water, because we are considering in terms of water. And already we know at the end we need to have 7% water, means 7% milk, means the balance 93% should be milk. And this way we have to go for the calculation. Cross multiplication and simplification will be definitely taking so much of time. Instead of that, alligation rule definitely gives the answer at a faster rate. So alligation rule is one of the important points that we have to keep in mind to answer the questions at a faster rate. As mentioned earlier, the problems on alligation can be on different aspects. It may be on percentages, it may be on ratios, it may be on profit and loss, it may be on simple interest, compound interest, or maybe on time and work, time and distance, in some specific areas, like specific cases of time and work, time and distance, in that way. And if you are looking at one more example, this is based on, again, what we can say, profit and loss. The question is in this way: a man bought 2 articles for a total of 40,000 rupees. He sold both the articles, one at 20% profit and the other at 10% loss. He made an overall profit of 8.75% in the entire transaction. Then what is the cost price of the article which is sold at 20% profit is the question. So if you are just looking at, first we look at how we have to attempt this problem by using profit and loss, then we look at how the alligation rule is helpful in answering the question at a faster rate. What is the total price of the articles that we are having? 40,000 rupees, right? Total CP is 40,000 rupees, right, for the 2 articles. Let us assume the cost price of the first article is some x rupees, and cost price of the second article in that case will become the balance only or not, which is nothing but 40,000 minus x we can say, right. This first article, if you are looking at, is sold at 20% profit is the information. So at 20% profit, and the second one is sold at 10% loss is the information, and on the whole selling them 8.75% is the profit is the information we have. So if you just look at x is the cost price and 20% profit we are having, means 20% of x is the profit or profit involved in the calculation. So 20% of x we can say, right. And here there is a loss of 10%. So 10% loss means it is basically negative part. So minus 10% of 40,000 minus x will be having, should be equal to the overall profit or loss that we are having in the transaction is 8.75% is saying 8.75% of the overall cost price. So that is overall cost price, already we know it as 40,000 rupees. So should be equal to 8.75% of 40,000 rupees, right. So this is the information we have. So 20% of x minus 10% of 40,000 minus x is equal to 8.75% of 40,000 is the equation that we are having. So if you are observing carefully, all the 3 are having the denominator portion as by 100, because percentage means per 100. So by 100 here, by 100 here, by 100 here. So we can cancel that 100 portion. So now we are left out with 20 into x, 20x we can say, and 10 into 40,000 will be 4 lakhs, and this will become minus into minus plus 10. So plus 10x will be having is equal to 8.75 times of 40,000. 8 times of 40,000 will be 3,20,000. So I am just writing it separately here to add it directly and put the value here, and 0.75 times of 40,000 we are having. 0.75 we all know fractionally is nothing but 3 by 4. 1/4 of 40,000 will be is basically 10,000, and 3/4 we are looking means what we can say is 30,000. So 30,000 if you are adding, this will become 3,50,000, right? So 3,50,000 is the value that we will be having on the right hand side. So now simplifying further, 20 plus 10 it will be 30x is equal to we will be having, and bringing this 4 lakhs to the other side it will become plus 4 lakhs. So 4 lakhs plus 3,50,000 means 7,50,000. Yeah. So in that case, can I say 0 and 0 if you are cancelling, 3x is equal to 75,000 we will be having, or in other words x is equal to 25,000. So this is what is the price of the first variety that we have considered. X is nothing but the price of the first variety. And if you are looking at the question is asking you what is the cost price of the article which is sold at 20% profit. The one that is sold at 20% profit is X. So that means what we can say, the one that is sold at 20% profit is having a cost price of 25,000 rupees. This is what is the actual way of answering the question using our profit and loss. But as mentioned earlier, allegation rule will be giving the answer at a faster rate. How that will be giving us the answer, we'll just look at that one using the approach. And if you're just looking at the first one is sold at 20% profit, so I'm writing it as 20%. The second is sold at 10% loss. Yeah, if we have profit on both the cases, we'll be considering positive values only. And if one of them is profit and the other is loss, we consider them with signs also. So 20% profit means this is plus 20 we have, and this is 10% loss means minus 10%, and on the whole we are having a profit of 8.75% is the information. So write that 8.75 in the middle in this way. Yeah. Now we need to take the difference of these two and the difference of these two to arrive at the answer. And if you're just observing carefully, it's 20 minus 8.75 is 11.25%, and 8 minus of minus, because that is smaller quantity. So 8 minus of minus 8.75 minus of minus 10 will become plus 10. So that will be 18.75% we can say. And further if you are just looking at this can be written as 18 3 by 4 because 0.75 is that one. And 18 3 by 4 if you are writing it as 18 4 is 72 plus 3 75 by 4. So this is what will become 75 by 4 percentage. Anyway, this percentage in both the cases I am having, I can ignore that. So 75 by 4 is to, this is what is the ratio that we will be getting, 11.25, and we know 0.25 we can write it as 1 by 4. So it's basically 11 1 by 4 will be having means 45 by 4. So if you are cancelling 4 and 4, what we are left out is 75 is to 45. 75 to 45 is nothing but, can we say 15 5s and 15 3s only or not? So that means what we can say, the ratio of the cost price of the two articles is 5 is to 3. So the one that is considered, is having profit is 5 parts, and the one that is sold at 10% loss is having a cost price of 3 parts. So total cost according to us, that ratio is 5 plus 3, 8 parts we are having. But according to the problem, the total cost of the two articles is mentioned as 40,000. If 8 parts represents 40,000, that is what we are, is the information. 8 parts is representing 40,000. What we are looking is 5 parts. The one that is sold at 20% profit is having the cost price as 5 parts. 5 parts will represent how much is the question. Okay. If 8 parts represents 40,000, can we say 1 part will represent 5,000? Because 40,000 by 8 is 5. So that means what, 5,000. So that means what we can say, the question mark value will become 5 into 5,000, which is nothing but 25,000 rupees. So that means the price of the one that is sold at profit is 20% profit is 25,000 rupees. So that is how the allegation rule definitely gives the answer at a faster rate we can say. Instead of having that 8.75, if you are having 9%, the problem becomes much easier. 20 and 9, the difference is 11, and what we can say, 9 and minus of minus 10, it will become 19. 19 is to 11 is the ratio of the prices. So in that way, if you are not having decimal parts, you can still answer the question even at a faster rate we can say. So that is how allegation rule we have to keep in mind to answer the questions at a faster rate. Let us look at one example on mixes related problem. Yeah, from 700 liters of milk, 70 liters are drawn and replaced with water. 70 liters of this mixture is again drawn and replaced with water, and this process is continued 2 more times. Find the quantity of milk present in the solution now is the question. Okay, so if you are just looking at, initially the particular vessel is having 700 liters of milk is the information. Yeah, 700 liters of milk is there. From that 70 liters are drawn. 70 liters is drawn. So what is left out means 630 liters is left out. And now what we can say that 70 liters is replaced with water is the information. So that means now if you are looking at it has a milk quantity of 630 liters and water quantity of 70 liters. Now what the information further we are having is one more time we are drawing 70 liters. So if you are drawing 70 liters now, earlier it was only milk we are having, but now we are having the milk and water combination. So what is the ratio of milk and water we can say now? 630 is to 70. That is nothing but can we say 70 once and 70 9 times only or not? So 9 is to 1. So if you are taking 70 liters out, the ratio in which the milk and water will come out will be 9 is to 1. So what we can say, out of the 70 liters, 9 parts out of 10 parts will be milk will be having. That is nothing but 63 liters of milk will come out, and out of 63 liters is milk means the balance 7 liters will be water we can say. So now what we can say, 63 liters of milk is coming out, 7 liters of water is coming out. So if you are adding now 70 liters of water, what we can say is out of 630, 63 gone, and now what we can say 70 liters of milk is there, out of that one 7 liters is gone, but again we are adding back 70 liters of water. So now what is the point that we can say is 630 minus 63 we are having, 630 minus 30 it will be 600, minus 33 we have to consider, which is 567 we can say, right. And the same way here 70 minus 7, 63 will be having, 63 plus 70 means what we can say 120, 133 will be having. So in that way adding these two will be having again 700 liters will be having. Now till now the problem is easy only because the ratio of milk and water is 9 is to 1, but now the ratio of milk and water is not that easy to calculate further calculations, and the problem says it is not one more time, it is 2 more times that we are adding now, changing the that milk and water concentrations. So definitely it will be taking time for going for the further calculations. So that is the reason whenever we have such a situation based problem is given where one particular vessel is having a particular type of liquid and that is drawn out and replaced with another liquid, like it is there, it's something like milk is there, we are drawing out milk and replacing with water, or petrol is there, we are drawing out petrol and replacing with kerosene. In that way whenever we are diluting that one, we have a small formula. Instead of going for this big calculation, don't go for this calculation, we have a small formula that gives the answer at a faster rate. And keep the point in this way, if we have the original liquid is some P liters we have, like liquid A is some P liters we have, out of that one let us say Q liters are drawn and replaced with liquid B. Yeah, and if this process takes place of some n times, then after that one what is the concentration of liquid A after n such operations if you are looking at is given by P minus Q by P whole power n we can say. And if you are looking at in terms of percentage, this P minus Q by P whole power n should be multiplied with 100. Sometimes you may be asking what is the quantity of liquid A. If it is quantity of liquid A he is asking in the problem, what we can say is multiply this P minus Q by P whole power n with P, the original quantity. So using these three, if it is only concentration, that means in terms of some decimal number, percentage means multiplying with 100 and quantity means multiply with P, we will be getting whatever be the one that he is asking for. So if you are just observing carefully here, the quantity of milk present in the final solution is asking for. So quantity means we should multiply with P is the point that we have to keep in mind. And if you are observing carefully, what is the value of n in this particular example means it is already first time, second time, 2 more times he is saying. That means n is basically 4 we can say. Yeah. And if you are just looking at the values for P, P is 700, Q is 70, n is 4. So substituting in the formula we will be getting the required answer. So it is 700 minus 70 by 700 whole power 4 into 700 is our answer. And what we can say is 700 minus 70 will be 630. 630 by 700 means can we say it is 9 by 10. So 9 by 10 whole power 4 into 700 is our answer. And if you are observing carefully, 9 power 4 by 10 power 4, I can write it as 9 power 4 is basically 81 square means 6561 by 10 power 4 means it's basically 10,000 into 700. So 2 zeros if you are cancelling, what we can say is 717, 7 6 times 42, 4 I am writing here, 7 5 35 plus 4 39, 3 have to be carried, 7 6 times 45, 42, 42 plus 3 45. So what we can say is divide this by 100. So what we can say is it's 459.27 liters of milk will be left out. So that is what is the answer we can say, and definitely that formula gives the answer at a faster rate. So please keep this point in mind whenever we are taking a particular quantity like liquid A and replacing with liquid B and the process is taking for n times, use the formula P minus Q by P whole power n. So these are all the important problems that we have to keep in mind as far as averages, mixes and alligation rule we can say. Till now we focused on different aspects of numbers, right? Most of the time that we consider the problems based on numbers are basically based on decimal system only. But what we can say is definitely decimal system is not the only way of representing the numbers. There are different approaches that different bases with which we can consider the representation of numbers. And if you're just looking at, we know most of the time the machine language is binary language that we'll be having, and there we'll be using base as the 2. So we'll just look at a small example to understand how a decimal number can be converted into binary or what we can say octagonal, hexagonal in that way. Let us look at a small example. I'm just taking up 23, a small example. 23 is in decimal value. How or what is its value in base 2? That is binary system we'll be considering it as. Okay, so to convert any number which is in binary, decimal system into binary, if the base is 2, the point is we have to divide in terms of, we have to divide by 2. If the base is 3, we'll be dividing by 3. If the base is 8, we'll be dividing by by 8 in that way. So to convert this 23, the decimal number into binary, what we do is 23 should be divided with 2. 2 will be dividing 23 11 times. And 11 2 is 22, there is a remainder of 1. So write that one separately in this way. And again if you are dividing further with 2, 11 will be going into 5 times and there is a remainder of 1. So write that one separately again. 2 if you are again further dividing, 5 if you are dividing with 2 further, it goes 2 times and there is again a remainder of 1 we are having. But finally if you are looking at 2 if you are dividing with 2, what we can say, it goes 1 times and there is no remainder. So write that remainder in this way separately. Okay, so that means what we can say is to write the decimal number, the binary number from this decimal number, we have to follow the order, reverse order. So that means what we can say is it's 10111 base 2 is the number that we can say. And to convert this into decimal, what we need to do is again go for multiplying with the numbers. Like what we have is units place, tens place, hundreds place, in that way as we are considering something like a 3-digit number like ABC. C is in units place, B is in tens, A is in hundreds. In the same way here, this is in ones place, this is in twos place, this is in fours place, this is in eights and this is in 16s, in that way we'll be considering. So when it is decimal, powers of 10 will be having. If it is binary, powers of 2 will be considering. Just a small point to convert this into decimal. It's in power 1 we have. So it's basically 2 power 0 into 1 will be considering. This is 2 power 1 into 1 we have here, 2 square into 1 and 2 cube into 0 and finally 2 power 4 into 1 we are having. Or in other words what we can say is 2 power 0 is 1, 1 into 1 is 1 and 2 power 1 is 2, 1 into 2 is 2, 2 square is 4, 4 into 1 is 4 and 2 cube is 8, 8 into 0 is 0, 2 power 4 is 16, 16 into 1 is 16. So what we can say is 16 plus 4 20, 20 plus 2 22, 22 plus 1 23. This is what is the value of that number in decimal. So this is how we'll be having the problems based on different bases. Let us look at some examples to understand how the different varieties will be having. Let us look at an example. The problem is in this way. It's asking for the conversion of a number given in decimal number, binary 1101 base 2 plus 46 base 8, it's in octagonal, and finally 97 base 10. That means already in decimal system we have. Okay, and the results if you are looking at are given in terms of base 10, like 148 base 10, 147 base 10, 146 base 10, 145 base 10. These are the choices we have. So that means he is asking us to convert basically all these into decimal system. And anyway, the last one is already in decimal system, so we don't have to consider again, write the base as 10. And here if you are looking at as the base is 8, as mentioned earlier, this is in 1's place and this is in 8's place we can say. So it's basically 8 power 0 into 6, and the next one will become 8 power 1 into 4. And here if you are looking at, this is in 1's place, so 2 power 0 into 1, and this is 0, 2 power 1 into 0, 2 square into 1, and finally 2 cube into 1, 2 cube into 1 we are having. So this is what is the value. So if you are just looking at, this is 97, 8 power 0 is anyway 1, anything to the power of 0 is 1, 1 into 6, 6, and here if you are looking at 8 power 1 is 8, 8 plus 8 fourths means 32. So 32 will be having here, and here if you are looking at, this is 2 power 0 anyway 1, 1 into 1, 1 only will be having, 2 power 1 is 2, 2 into 0 it's basically 0 will be having, 2 square means 4, 4 into 1, 4 will be having, and this is 2 cube is 8, 8 into 1, 8 will be having. So what is the value of that number means, it's 8 plus 4, 12, 12 plus 1, 13, 13 to that we are adding 38, 32 plus 6 means, and to that we are having 97 added, and what we can say is 97 plus 13 is 110, 110 plus 38 is 148. So what is the value of that number in decimal system means 148 we can say. So in that way we will be having the problems based on this conversion. Let us look at a small example on understanding how we will be having the squares, square roots, cubes, cube roots on different bases. But the question is in this way, the square root of the octal number 1161 is how much is the question. Yeah, so 1161 is in base 8, and if you are just looking at, what we can say is, this is in 1's place, this is in 8's, this is in 8 squares, this is in 8 cubes position, in that way we have. So what we can say, it's basically 8 power 0 into 1 and 8 power 1 into 6, 8 square into 1, 8 cube into 1 again. So these are the things that we are having here, and what we can say is 8 cube is 512, 512 into 1 is 512 will be having, 8 square is 64, 64 into 1 is 64, and 8 into 6 48 will be having, 8 power 1 is 8, 8 into 6 means 48, 48 plus 1 will be having. Yeah, if you are just observing carefully, 512 plus 48 if you are adding, that will be 560 we can say, 560 plus 64, 624 will be having, 624 plus 1 is 625. Yeah, 625 is in what we can say decimal decimal system, and the square root of 625 is basically 25 we can say, right. 625 square root in decimal system is 25, and we are looking for the what we can say square root of this one, right. Let us look at how to look at that particular aspect. Yeah, 625 square root is 25. So let us look at how to convert that again into the octal, because the choices if you are looking at, they are all basically given in terms of the base as 8 only, and 25 is in decimal system, so we have to convert that into octal system. So again, as what we did earlier, convert this 25 into octal system by dividing with 8. 8 if you are looking at 3 times it will be going, so 8 3 is 24 means there is a remainder of 1. So what we can say is, we will be writing in the reverse order, so it's 3 1 31 will be having with base 8 as the perfect square, as the square root of this particular number. So what we can say, square root of 1161 in base 8 is equal to 31 base 8 we can say, and in that way we will be having the problems based on this squares, square roots, cubes, cube roots in that way. Yeah, earlier we focused on a problem based on square root, now this problem based on cube. On in which of the following square scales is 5016 a perfect cube is the question. Yeah, so if you are just looking at 5016, on which scale it's a perfect cube is the question. Yeah, and the choices if you are looking at, it's base 8 is given, base 9 is given, base 11 is given, base 7 is given. These are the different bases that we are having. Yeah, 5016 if it is in base if you are considering, what we can say is 5016 base 8 if it is, what we can say is 6 is in 8's place, I mean units place, so it's basically 8 power 0 into 6. This is in 8 power 1's place 1, and this is 8 square into 0, and finally this is 8 cube into 5 we are having. Okay, so now what we can say, it's 8 cube is basically 512. 512 into 5 we are having 512, I mean 500 5s is 2500, 12 5s is 60. So that means what we can say, it's basically 2560. 512 into 5 means, and 8 square is 64, 64 into 0 is anyway 0, 6 will be, I mean 8 into 1, 8 will be having, 8 power 0 is 1, 1 into 6, 6 will be having. So in other words, what we will be having is 2574 is the number that we are having. And if you are looking at the perfect squares, what we can say in terms of decimal system, like 13, 12 cube is 10 cube is 1000, 11 cube is 1331, 12 cube is 1728, 13 cube is 2197, then 14 cube is 2744, but 2574 nowhere we will be getting. So that means what we can say, it's not a perfect cube in terms of base 8 we can say. In the same way, if you are looking at base 9 also, if you are considering 5016 in terms of base 9. Okay, so if you are just looking at 6, 9 power 0 into 6 will be having here, 9 power 1 into 1, 9 square into 0, and 9 cube into 5 we will be having. Okay, so if you are just looking at 9 cube is 729, 729 5s we are looking at, 700 5s is 3500, 29 5s is 145, 3500 plus 145 will be 3645. So 3645 will be having here, and to that we are adding 9 square means 0 only will be having. So that, I mean 81 into 0, 0 only will be having, plus 9 plus 6 will be having. So it's basically 15 we are adding means 3660. Again what we can say is 3660 is not a perfect square, and I mean perfect cube. And if you are just looking at the next base is mentioned as 11, and what I am suggesting here is, if you are taking 11 and powers of 11 takes definitely time. So that is the reason what we will do is, first we conserve with base 7. If that is not a perfect cube in base 7, obviously answer should be in terms of base 11 we can say. So 5016 in terms of base 7 if you are looking at base 7. So now what we can say is, it's basically 7 power 0 into 6, 7 power 1 into 1, plus 7 square into 0, and finally 7 cube into 5 we are having. So 7 cube is anyway 343, 343 into 5 we are looking at. So what we can say is 343 into 5 means 300 5s we have 1500, 40 5s is 200. So 1500 plus 200, 1700, 3 5s will be 15. So it's basically 1715 we can say. And here 7 power 2 we are having, 7 square is 49, 49 into anyway 0 is 0 only will be having, and to that when we are adding 7 power 1, 7, 7 into 1 is 7, and this is anyway 7 power 0 is 1, 1 into 6 is 6. So if you are just looking at, it's basically 1715 plus 13, that is 1728, and we all know that 1728 is basically 12 cube in terms of decimal system. So if it is perfect cube in decimal, obviously it is cube in any other system also will be considering. So that means what we can say is, it's basically a perfect cube in base 7. So in that way we will be having the problems based on number systems, and we have to keep a, what we can say, just focus on the basic points, like what are the different bases that we are having, like base 2, base 3, base 7, base 8, base 11. In that way, keep these points in mind, how to convert them from decimal to decimal system to any of the bases that we are considering, and these are all the useful points that we have to keep in mind for answering the questions.